What's up, everybody? It's the Warrior of Light, and I've been wanting to make a video just talking about some of my thoughts and feelings on the end of service for the first soldier. I'm a little shocked.
NANI?!
I'm a little angry,
Shit, crap!
and I'm a little sad. All jokes aside, I am a little shocked, sad, and angry. I'm shocked because I thought this game would be around for at least all parts of the remake. The remake of Final Fantasy VII. And if you don't know what The First Soldier is, it was supposed to be a mobile spin-off game that was somewhat of a prequel to the events of the original game. And even a prequel to the prequel. So Crisis Core, which is coming out in a couple months, this was supposed to be a little bit of what was happening before then. And they wanted to make a Final Fantasy Battle Royale that was tied to the Final Fantasy VII universe. And I think the initial perception by the Final Fantasy community was like, what is this? Why are you making this? Nobody asked for this. But even for people like me, I gave it a shot. I wasn't immediately outright saying like, oh, this is stupid. Why are they doing this? But I was open-minded, and I played it since beta, played a lot of it. I was Prime all three seasons that have been completed so far on teams and solo, so I played quite a bit. I'm a little shocked because we've only had part one of the remake out. We have Rebirth coming next year, and then the last part of Final Fantasy VII Remake hasn't been released yet. But I thought that this would be something that would be around in between to fill in the gaps of all that time between developing the different games. I'm a little shocked because the game didn't even last a full 11 months before announcing the end of service. It was 2 months short of a full year that this game was initially launched that they come out and they say we're ending the terms of service. And that's the little shocked. I mean, we all kind of saw the writing on the wall since Season 2. And even Season 1, you could tell that this game wasn't doing great. When you had people like Ninja playing it on stream and it's constantly crashing and having issues, it wasn't a good sign. But especially in Season 2, they made some decisions that I think hurt the game. Cranberry is another ambassador for this game that said some of the changes that they made in Season 2 probably killed a lot of the player base. And we griped about those, we complained about those, so it's not shocking and that they didn't listen. And so we kind of expected some of these things to happen. And I even posted on Facebook showing some of my stats between the seasons, how the player base was dropping and dying off because I was at a lower ranking, but I had played less games. So I was moving up faster in the rankings, even though I was playing less games, because there was less people playing the game actively, which directly translates to how well the game is doing financially. And at that point, me and Chris actually did a little bit of research, and he was telling me some of the numbers, and it's not surprising, because I was looking at other FF mobile games that I don't play. I don't know anybody else that plays, like Final Fantasy 15 and New Empire. And apparently that game garnered in over $800,000 in the iPhone market alone. Whereas when you look at The First Soldier, last month it took in $36,000 between both the Google Play and the Apple market. So in both markets, it took up a very small amount of income, which is sad. It wasn't making good money at all. And while people are speculating like why this is happening, I think we can ultimately go and look back and say this had to do with money. The game wasn't performing well. It probably hadn't been performing well historically, even from the beginning. Like if you look back at Season 1, it probably wasn't doing that great because almost immediately you had people complaining about long queue times. And so they decided to increase the amount of bots in both ranked and standard, even though they told us it wasn't in ranked. They said standard, but it was obvious. They had greatly increased the amount of bots that were in ranked matches, and you were getting queue times a lot quicker, but when you got in, you weren't really fighting a whole lot of real people. So I think we saw from Season 1 that this game had a very low population. But even moving forward, you saw that the population continued to diminish. And it's interesting. When you look at other FF mobile games that have gone to the wayside, even Mobius lasted for 5 years. Final Fantasy Mobius lasted for 5 years. That's probably the only other Final Fantasy game that was on mobile that had also had a very short lifespan. Record Keeper went on for quite a while, and so did Before Crisis and Dirge of Cerberus Lost Episode. those ones weren't live service games, but still support for them lasted a very long time. The fact that this game didn't even last a full 11 months says something about how it was managed, how it was received by the fans, and I'd like to get a little bit into that. Why did this all happen? A lot of people have a lot of different theories, and I don't think it was any one thing, but I think it's a combination of all of what we've been talking about. First, look at what the fans have been saying. They were asking for PC and console. The problem that I think the development team had is they had a very, I don't know what you want to call it, not necessarily like ethnocentric or like nationalistic centric, but I think they didn't understand how to market this game to the world broadly. Because yes, we get it, all right? In Japan, you guys spend a lot of time on your phones because you use a lot of public transport. So you're spending a lot of time on trains and maybe even buses. I'm not sure, but in the West, we don't. When we play video games, some of us do it on mobile as we're traveling to and from work on public transit. But for the most part, we play it when we get home. We bust out the controller, we get on our PC, we get on our console. We want a big screen, we want that experience. While Tetsuya Nomura kind of told us we would get that same experience if we had a controller and an HDMI cable or even screencasting to the TV, it wasn't necessarily true. You had a lot of issues. There was a little bit of latency when it comes to any kind of connecting like that. So I think it would have done a little bit better in the West had it been on console or PC. That's a large part in why Fortnite is successful, is because it's available on multiple platforms. Now, they didn't need to make a console or PC port. This game was working on BlueStacks and even Nox Player, and to Blitz's point, and the Night Sky Prince, they both made the same point. Those apps were basically doing a team's job for them. It created a market of people that could play it on PC. There's a lot of people in the West that play games on PC, especially streamers. People who want to play this game and make content for it. It's easier to screen capture, it's easier to record, it's easier to stream when you're playing a game on PC. The problem was they kept patching it out to where you couldn't make these games work, to where they would crash on Nox Player and BlueStacks, which was dumb in my opinion, because they were cutting a whole player base out of the game. They were patching players out of their game that already wasn't performing well. And for some people that would say, well, it makes it difficult if you want to have a competitive game, but the problem was there were already differences in play level because of devices. So like iPhones typically performed a little bit better than Samsung devices. A lot of controller users would argue that they had an advantage over touch users, where I would disagree, but they thought they had an advantage over touch players. And so, boom, there was an advantage. If you had a high-end device, there was a clear advantage. I've played on a Samsung Fan Edition S20, and I've played on an iPhone Max 13 Pro. There's a huge difference in performance. I am dominating people that have poor phones, and I can tell when they're not even reacting when I'm shooting them and they don't have enough time to react before they're dead. They're not receiving, there's latency on their end, they're not receiving the fact that they're being hit by bullets, and I'm completely shredding them before they can even react. So already there was a big difference in performance. And other people say, well, they have a mouse and keyboard and it's easier to shoot. People were already using mouse and keyboard on this game. There are setups for mobile devices where you can use mouse and keyboard, so that's also not a good argument. Pink Teddy and longtime Twitch have been using mouse and keyboard since the beginning, and they never patched it to where those wouldn't work. They were able to use those just fine, and did it really give them a big disadvantage? People who have played against Pink Teddy and longtime Twitch would say, not really. I'm not saying they're not good players. Pink Teddy's a good player, but it didn't give them a big advantage to where you were like, this is very noticeable. So why patch potential customers out of the game, especially when it's already not performing well and there's a low player base? And just ask yourself as a question. You're playing the First Soldier. You want this game to exist. You want it to be around for a while. Would you rather lose a little bit more often to somebody who's able to play a little bit better because maybe they have an advantage because they're playing on PC with a mouse and keyboard, but then ultimately the game not even exist? Or is it okay losing every now and then, and yet the game is still around? Ask yourself that question, and I think you see that the obvious answer is stop patching people out of the game. Let them play on BlueStacks. Let them play on Nox Player. It's not really going to give them that big of an advantage, and it's going to help keep the game around a little bit longer. Now the game's gone, wouldn't it have been nice to have those players funding the game, keeping it around longer for all of us that play on mobile? Now it's gone, and your argument is irrelevant. They should have kept it around. They shouldn't have been patching these people out. That's one problem. Another problem is some of the predatory gacha pulls and the pricing that was gone into that. And, you know, applause for Lodi for having the balls and not being a total simp for the game like I was, that just, and other people that like, I'm just going to keep playing it. I don't care. Maybe Lodi's right. Maybe we all should have protested and just said, screw this, I'm not playing the game when we saw that Sephiroth banner. I really didn't care because I wasn't going to pull for it. I have some self-control when it comes to what I spend on my gaming. You know, I don't spend more than $20 a month on gaming, period, so whether it comes to Steam or mobile. But for real, I mean, look at the Sephiroth pull. Master Lodi went through the numbers, and it was ridiculous. It was way too much money. You could buy a PS5. You could potentially buy a PS5 and the FF7 remake intergrade, so you're getting the DLC and everything, before you were ever going to be able to afford the Sephiroth banner pulls. And it was never guaranteed because of the rates. And it was just insane how much they were charging. They probably lost a lot of people over those prices. You know, and I don't understand the logic there. They were probably trying to do, like, we need to do something to save the game. Let's try Sephiroth. Let's try to, you know, get Sephiroth out there because I know he's a very popular character and maybe people will buy it. But ultimately, you know, that didn't work, and it probably pissed a lot of people off. Another thing, I think they dropped the ball big time with this game as far as, like, how the game was, the different modes and stuff. This is more of a personal opinion. I've had different people agree with me, and this is more something that I brought to the forefold, is that I think they dropped the ball when it came to the RPG elements of the game. Tetsuya Nomura said that this was supposed to be something different than just a Battle Royale, and the problem with Battle Royales, they're a dime a dozen. So many have come and gone, and there's 4 big Battle Royale games that you're really not going to compete against or grab a big portion of that market, so they really should have leaned more into the RPG aspect. In 4 seasons, we got 2 additional monsters, the guard dogs and the security officers. That was it. Why not put more monsters on the map? We only got really 2 bosses the entire game, Cloud and Bahamut. That was really it. Why not more stuff? They showed a Behemoth in Trailer 1. Why couldn't they have used those assets? Why even use that? That trailer was clearly for Ever Crisis and not for this game. They just decided to try and use it for this game because it's somewhat related because they're also soldiers. But then none of the stuff in that game was ever used. They used Lucia as a little bit of voice acting when you're going through the training stuff, but they could have capitalized on that and done some kind of story stuff and give Final Fantasy players some kind of reason to want to play this game. There are big OG FF7 fans. That game has, the original Final Fantasy VII has almost sold 20 million copies since its inception. When you look at the remake, it's a lot less than that, but there was a lot that they could have done to draw in some of that fan base. Some kind of story, some kind of lore. It didn't have to be connected to the events of the original Final Fantasy VII and even the remake if they were worried about it interacting with the story at all. It could have just been with Lucia and the other 2 soldiers that were shown in the trailer. And there was a lot that they could have done there, and I think they really dropped the ball. Variant mode was a bad idea, and I know some people may have liked it, but dude, come on. Bad idea. The game already had a low population, and you're going to sit there and create a mode where in which you need, how many teams was it? Like 5 teams to play that mode? There was long queue wait times, and what's worse, when people got the variant that they got a variant that they didn't want, or they didn't get the variants which they wanted, they would quit out of the game, screwing everybody else in the match that just waited 30 minutes to get into a variant mode match. It was a bad idea. It was glitchy. It was stupid. We should have had some kind of raid boss stuff. That was one of the most popular things throughout the course of this game's history. When they had the Bahamut raids, I saw more community interaction with that than with any other event. When they did the Bahamut raids, I had a Discord that had over 30 people in one Discord channel on chat, like talking to one another as we were doing these raids together and helping out the community accomplish the titles. And then they never did it again. I don't know, maybe they didn't make a whole lot of money off of it. Maybe that was a missed opportunity for them to capitalize on that. They could have made some kind of money. Another problem with this game, so that was like, I think they should have dug more into like the RPG elements and the story and the PvE side of things. So I think they messed up big time with that. Another thing is marketing. And Fun Cody pointed this out. A couple other people pointed this out. I think this game was poorly marketed. When I look at other Final Fantasy mobile games, sometimes that's what it comes down to, is how well they're marketed. You look at DFFO, the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. I played that a little bit, but I see ads for it all the time. War of the Visions, I see ads all the time. Raid Shadow Legends, that's not a Final Fantasy game, but I see ads for it all the damn time, and the game's still around. When it came to the First Soldier, I almost never saw ads for it. And while some people tried to defend it and were like, well, if you have the game downloaded on your phone, the marketing technology is, it's caught up to where it won't show you ads for something you already have on your device. That's BS. I've had other Final Fantasy games on my device and yet still received ads for them. That's not a good excuse. This game wasn't marketed well. Some I think they probably should have done is not use the ambassadors that they used, myself included. I don't think they should have had me on as an ambassador. Maybe, this is just an idea, they probably should have picked 3 ambassadors, one from the Final Fantasy community, one from the BR community, and one from the mobile gaming community. Maybe the Night Sky Prince, maybe Pendragon, and maybe somebody not as expensive as Ninja, but still well known in the BR community. And then paid all 3 of them to create content, like maybe 2 hours of streaming a week and a YouTube video. Make sure they're all YouTube creators. And people were like, if you're a Battle Royale player, where do you go to get BR content? If you're a mobile gamer, where do you go to get content? If you're a Final Fantasy fan, where do you go to get content? Because if you think about it, the game had kind of a big market. Had the BR market, the mobile gaming market, the Final Fantasy market, and it failed to take advantage of all 3 of those markets. There was a lot that it could have done to draw in people from those crowds. Having Ninja played as early as they did when the game had as many performance issues as it did was a huge mistake. They wasted their money on that. You have this big guy in BR community that is, and a little bit of Final Fantasy. I don't know if you know that, but Ninja plays a little bit of Final Fantasy. He plays Final Fantasy 11 every now and then. And the game is crashing. It's not performing well. That's a bad image. Just a very bad image for the game. And Blitz experienced the same thing. I mean, the first, 10 hours that this game was out, we couldn't even play it because it just crashed and the servers went down, which I guess that happens sometimes, but it wasn't a good start for the game. And ultimately, it failed in marketing. The last thing I guess I want to say is I just don't feel like it listened to its community. I don't think it did a good job. I don't think the dev team did a good job, and this is kind of my anger with A-Team and Square Enix. Square Enix for having A-Team do this game. What experience did A-Team have in the BR genre? Let me help you out. It was 0. They had 0 experience with Battle Royales. Alright, what kind of experience did they have with Final Fantasy games and that community? Big fat 0. They had no experience with Final Fantasy, no experience with Battle Royale. This is Final Fantasy 7. This is your golden goose. Dude, CBU 1. This is the thing that has made you... Square Enix has not sold more copies of any other game in its history than Final Fantasy 7. Why would you give it to some no-name company that's maybe created... I think they haven't done any more than like 10 mobile games or something like that. They don't have a very good history in like the gaming industry. And they were just kind of like, oh, we'll have these guys run it. And here we are, 11 months in, and now the game is gone. And who's to blame? Some people say the toxic community. It's like, that's bullcrap. That's bullcrap. Look, they should have listened to their player base. They should have listened to their ambassadors. It's like this. Let's say you love making wooden chairs. And it's a hobby of yours. You want to turn it into a business, right? And you like specifically making Victorian-style chairs. That's like your go-to thing. You want to make Victorian-style chairs. So you start making these Victorian-style chairs. You show them on the internet. You try to get some customers. But all of a sudden you have people messaging you. And they ask, hey, do you make Western-style chairs? I like your work. I'd really like to see what you could do with like a Western-style chair. And so you're like, oh, I don't really make those kinds of chairs. I just do Victorians. All right, well, lost sale, whatever. It's just one lost sale. But you're still doing what you want to do, you know? But then you have another person, and they come along, and they say, oh, do you make Western-style chairs? And you're like, no, I really don't use that. And then more people. And then at some point, you as a business have to be like, holy crap, there's a market for Western-style chairs. I can make Western-style chairs. It's not really what I want to do. But, I can either start making these Western-style chairs and actually make some money and keep my business alive, or I can just keep doing what I want to do. I had an idea for this business. I already had plans in development. I'm just going to keep pushing out what I want to do. Eventually, that business is going to fail. The customer is always right. Some people have forgotten that little idiom, but it's true. And I don't mean like they're always right. They come in and say something about business or every single customer is right. But the customers, generally speaking at large, are right. If you don't listen to your customers and start meeting demand, then your product is going to disappear. And you're going to have to go back and work for somebody else. And if you want to keep making Victorian chairs, then you're going to do that on your own dime. Because nobody's buying them. They want a different style. And when it came to this game, we told the devs what we wanted over and over again. They weren't listening. Instead, they just kept pushing out content that they probably had planned, but at some point they should have shifted and realized, all right, hold on a second. This isn't working. Let's listen to our fans. Let's see what they want and try to push out the kind of content that they want to see. And they didn't do that. I think the tournament was a big mistake. Because they only did it in EA and NA. So basically, if you were in Europe or you were in Southeast Asia, they said, right here, buddy, we don't care about you. Which I thought this game had a pretty big Southeast Asia player base. But apparently not big enough. They really didn't care. And if you're going to do it for 2 regions, you got to do it for all of them. Because a lot of people, when these tournaments happen and it was announced that they're just doing them for EA and NA, a lot of people left. That was one of the reasons why Varinius said he left. And the Southeast Asia player base kind of like dissipated. They stopped playing. I mean, and that might be some of the reason. But also, I think they wasted a lot of money on it. Not only, well, they haven't paid out the winners yet, which is funny. But also they were paying for advertising for the tournament when it should have been going towards advertising for the game. But also they were paying sportscasters. And honestly, well, clearly it did not bring in a whole lot of players. This whole tournament thing did not bring in a lot of players. It's great for the people who won. And yeah, I had fun participating in it. But ultimately, I don't think it helped the game. I think ultimately it hurt the game. It was just a bad idea. And I don't think it's what people wanted. I really think they failed. And lastly, I'm just kind of sad. I know I left about a month and a half ago maybe from the game and recently came back. And I only came back because I had asked a friend if they had a good phone before I quit the game, and they were going to see if they could get me a better phone because they're like huge iPhone people and they always buy like the newest model every time. And so I was like, hey, well, next time, what do you do with your old phone? And they said they might give it to me. And then a couple weeks later, I was like, I'm quitting this game. It's taking up too much of my time. I was getting too serious about it. It was hurting my relationship with my wife. And I just wanted to go and do something different. So I quit the game. I tried to completely cut the game out of my life. I got off all the Discords, unfollowed everybody on Twitch. Mostly everybody. There was a couple people I couldn't bear to like actually unfollow because I felt like I was good friends with them. And so that's the part where I'm kind of sad. I came back because I got a new phone. I was like, let me try it on the iPhone. It was really good. No, game's working great now. The part that I'm sad about is honestly more the people. I'll be sad to see the game go. I miss the music. The game's kind of fun. And it's always sad seeing something that you enjoyed for such a long time disappear. But honestly, I'm more sad to like the people. The teammates that I played with, Desmo and Onyx, the people I fought in the tournament with, Suwaku, somebody who I'd always play with at night, and Zenith. Late at night on Sundays when I would pop on for my streams or anytime late at night. Chancho, who my brother-in-law, he's not going anywhere. I still see him all the time in real life. But playing this game with him, I think me and him really connected as friends through this game. I mean, like, we weren't really like the closest of friends, didn't have a whole lot in common, and we started playing this game together, and we had a lot of fun together. And our relationship grew through a video game. It's kind of weird, you know? And I got to know a lot of really cool people in this community, and I'm going to be sad to see them go because I really don't play anything outside of Final Fantasy. Maybe I'll see some of them in the Final Fantasy 14 world, and I'll still watch some of them on Twitch even after this game is gone. And, I mean, if you think about it, as sad as some people are, and I said this earlier in Discord, I was like, you think this is sad, just wait until they close down the servers and you're in that match for the last time with all your friends, and you play in a match for the last time. And realize that you're never going to be dropping into Midgar again. It's sad. There's reasons to be sad. There's reasons to be angry with Square Enix and A-Team and the way they handled this. And CBU1 has just had failure after failure. And if you're a Final Fantasy fan like I am, I think our hopes now are kind of looking towards CBU3 and what they're going to do with Final Fantasy 16. It looks like they've had massive success with Final Fantasy 14. And we're kind of like following Yoshi P to see where he's going to take this series that I've loved for over 20 years. It's been around for over 35 years now. And I think the future of Final Fantasy is kind of in his hands because this is just another failure of CBU1. Failure to listen to the fans, a failure to deliver what they wanted. And it's kind of sad because some of my favorite games were developed by CBU1. Some of my absolute favorite games. And to see them fail time and time again when you try so hard to love a game like this, and I spent my own fair share of money trying to keep this game alive as well, buying stuff sometimes that I didn't even really want. You know, I just went and got my $20 Google Play card every single month from GameStop because, you know, I was like, there's nothing really in the game that I want to buy now, but I'm going to go ahead and get my $20 worth of Shinner credits, and maybe something will come along that I wanted later. And there really wasn't a whole lot of skins that I was desiring this game. I tried for the Chaos Pull, and that even pissed me off too, because it was just like the rates were so ridiculous, and you had to spend so much money to get what you want. The full Sephiroth banner, you had to spend like literally over $500 to $600 to get that whole thing. It was kind of bullcrap. And we went to the devs and we told them it was bullcrap, and they're like, well, we got to make money and survive. It's like, dude, you need to make the game good and people will come and buy and play. So I may be missing something, I may be forgetting something, but that's kind of all my thoughts. Yeah, just kind of sad, mad, frustrated that this happened this way, that it died so quickly, because me and Legit Vocals and many other people have said this game had so much potential. So much potential. And how can you drop the ball so hard with a Final Fantasy VII game? Ridiculous. Anyways, that's all my thoughts, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you don't agree, let me know. If you do agree, like, let me know what you think. And I hope to see some of you around. Some of you that I've gotten to know. I hope you follow my channel and we still are able to interact. If you're a streamer, I hope I am still followed you. I'll probably stay in that Discord, both the Discords, until they die. Like the one I created that I passed off to Desmo when I quit. I'll probably still be in there and say hi every now and then and post my videos and comment on what people are talking about and look back with my friends every now and then on the First Soldier and kind of smile and remember some of the good times we had and all the memes I've put out over the last 4 seasons. Those videos will still be up on my YouTube channel, and all my content and my video memes that I created as well will be there to look back on every now and then and laugh at some of the funny stuff that we were able to pull off in this game. And I will probably be here till the end. I will probably be there when the servers close. Hopefully I can be. I have some big developments in my life that'll be happening soon because I graduate this semester. But I hope that I'm able to log in for that last game when we watch the sunset on this game forever. And be in that lobby when it happens. I'd love to be in that lobby with my friends when the game finally shuts down for the last time. And say goodbye to all the friends I made. And goodbye to the game forever. Because it is gone. You cannot give it money. There's no petition that's going to save it, unfortunately. This game is going the way of Mobius, and Record Keeper, and Before Crisis, and Lost Episode. Like, all that stuff, so. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you around.